My church's youth group has a youth band that leads worship during youth, but the church also has them lead worship on Sunday mornings every few weeks, to promote the youth band when the usual worship team has a week off. I'm not in the band, but I often help with lyric PowerPoints along with another girl, but not when the band plays on Sundays. The main singer of the youth band is the daughter of a youth assistant, and the daughter is an assistant too. We'll call her Emma, she's 20. I'm writing because of what happened the last time the youth band led Sunday worship on June 30th, that led to Emma and her family leaving the church. In between one of the songs, Emma said she felt led to say that Christian nationalism wasn't of God because forcing people to believe went against the basis of Christianity because God gave free will and too many Christians forgot that. She also said there would be no short and narrow path if people were forced to walk it before saying Project 2025 was advertised as Christian but resembled nothing of God because God never forced people to believe in Him. No one confronted her or anything as it was brief, and they played a few more songs along with the closing song after the pastor finished his sermon. But when we got to youth on Friday night, Emma and her mother weren't there. And we were later informed, by the youth pastor, that Emma and her mom would no longer be helping the youth before a bunch of stuff about giving others the chance to be lead singers because Emma had left the church. However, word got out from one of the band's players that Emma told the band that she got banned during the week and that her parents left the church with her, so they already knew before we found out at youth. The reason I'm making this post is because of a conversation I had with the band, another PowerPoint G. Earl, the same Friday the youth pastor announced it, and the conversation was private from the rest of the kids. Long story short, the band is upset about what happened to Emma, and they've been throwing around ideas on what to do. The one they're heavily considering is a walkout the next time they're scheduled to play on Sunday after playing the intro song. Service opens with an intro song before someone comes on stage to welcome everyone before worship continues, and they would voice support for Emma before walking out together. They haven't told anyone not associated with the band because they don't want anyone to spill the deets. But the main thing we're debating is repercussions from our parents and whether or not it's worth the risk. There's likely a few weeks until the band plays on Sunday again, and they still haven't decided on a new lead singer yet. I also want to add that the church didn't upload the worship portion of the service with Emma and only uploaded the sermon from that day. They always include worship on their YouTube upload of the service. Most of the concerns were around tuition punishments as some of them have their parents helping pay, but they still want to do something. And while I'm not in the band technically aside from coordinating PowerPoint lyrics occasionally, I figured the least I could do was get advice from other adults anonymously because we don't want to ask our parents for obvious reasons, and maybe others could see more pros and cons that we can. I appreciate any advice that anyone gives and will relay it to the band too. Update 1. First, the band is still going through with the walkout, and they're keeping it within the band so that no other kids tell their parents who might tell leaders. It would have been awesome to include others, but the risk of the church catching wind was too great. Second, we have a date of 8/4 when the youth band will do worship for the adults again. Third, the youth pastor appointed a singer from within the group who will take turns singing on Sundays with future participants in the coming weeks. Here's how we hope it happens. The band will play the opening song, which officially starts service, and usually lets people know it's starting. Many make their way from the foyer during the intro song. And after someone gives the welcome/prayer after the opening song, the lead singer will then give the speech before the band walks off stage, and I will walk out with them from the pews along with relatives/friends. One relative said she might bring some people she knows too, which could make more of a statement to the church to see adults leaving too. One of the relatives will also record the whole thing in case any parents don't react well to it, and I will update after it happens. If anyone has any further advice, it would be appreciated, and I'll bring it to the band. Most of the band, outside of 2 seniors, aren't old enough to vote this year, but this is a chance to stand up for what's right against something that is adamantly infusing itself into Christianity, Christian nationalism, and making Christianity lose all of its respect in our opinion. We don't expect change to happen in the church as a result of our walkout, but it's a small thing we can do to say we did our part when faced with it ourselves. Another commenter put it best when she asked if we'd be able to live with ourselves if we did nothing, and the answer has been no for us so far. I also want to add something I forgot to clarify in my first post. Emma didn't say what she did out of the blue. She had been vocal about the pastor talking politics for some time according to the band, and I've seen much of it too. However, a lot of people sent DMs disagreeing with the band's decision. So before I get into it, I want to give specifics of what the pastor has done. The pastor mentioned Trump from the pulpit numerous times, including the aftermath of the 2020 election, to voice discontent over THE results. He has also celebrated Roe v. Wade's overturning from the pulpit, Pride Month during June, and even compared Trump's legal trial to how Jesus was persecuted leading up to his crucifixion, things that have no place being vented about from the pulpit, and this has happened over the course of a few years. I received a few DMs in the aftermath of my first post, and some were encouraging while others not so much. A few people, who said they were Christians, said that Emma was wrong to use the microphone to hijack the service with her words because she should have talked to the pastor first while calling her actions immature. However, when I showed the band the advice from my posts, I also told them about the DMs, and they said that Emma spoke to a leader about the pastor's political sermons in the past. But nothing came from it as he continued to speak politics from the pulpit frequently. Some people also said that our walkout wasn't godly because we, like Emma, would be hijacking the service for a publicity stunt when church was supposed to be about God. Some people called us immature among harsher things. But we disagree for two reasons. First, who is supposed to call out the misuse of the pulpit if not people who attend the same church where it's misused? A few DMs said to do nothing and pray for God to change the pastor's heart, but he's been doing this for years. And second, the Bible gives guidance on how to call out improper behavior in the church in Matthew 18:15-17. Emma has already talked to a leader one-on-one, and the band has voiced displeasure about Emma's ban to the youth pastor, only for him to disagree and say that Emma was out of line. Regarding the part about tell it to the church, I suppose the how might be up to interpretation. Maybe telling the church means telling a church leader instead of the congregation on stage. But Emma and the band have talked to various leaders, including an elder too, aside of our youth leader, only 4 years of political rants from the pulpit to continue. When Jesus flipped tables in Matthew 21:12, we believe he did it because people were using the temple to sell things that had nothing to do with God, and we believe that politics falls into the same boat. Someone commented a link in the comments of my first post that I never saw. But I showed the band, and we couldn't agree with it more. Pastor Lauren Livingston talked about the role of politics in the church and how politics shouldn't be combined with Christianity, and I'll leave the link here. I still plan to speak with my parents ahead of 8/4, and I'll share the write-up the band is working on really soon. I really appreciate everyone who commented too. Lastly, I want to clarify that the walkout is the band's decision entirely. I am not a member of the band, I just do PowerPoint lyrics during youth, and I'm not even in the band's group chat with Emma. As some of the band members are contemplating punishments from parents, 2 seniors who are concerned with their parents removing tuition help, I will support whatever they decide while understanding that they have to take care of their future too, as many commented. If they decide to continue with the walkout, I will support them and walk out from the pews. But if they change their mind because repercussions are too great, I will respect that and continue to support them. Update 2. I meant to get back to this sooner, but some things happened on and after 8/4. Since my previous post, the band decided not go through with the walkout, and Emma was a big reason why. The band told me that Emma spoke to them a few days before 8/4 after she spoke to another bandmate who voiced concern. The girl who spoke to Emma was 15 and confided in her about physical abuse fears from her parents, and Emma spoke to the band on behalf of those fears. Emma also referenced some of the fears that the senior bandmates had about losing tuition support and told them that it wasn't worth risking their futures. Emma, unlike the band, had a full-time job to support herself, but some of the band was still tied to their parents for years. She pretty much told them to go with their gut if they had fears about repercussions from their parents as the 15-year-old girl had, and the senior who feared losing tuition said that his parents threatened him with it in the past about something else, which is why he thought of it. I wasn't present when the band spoke to Emma because I'm not a member of the band, I only do PowerPoint lyrics and they tell me what songs before youth group, but they told me and the other PowerPoint girl afterward. So instead of playing on August 4th, the band collectively, and privately, resigned to the youth pastor at youth group the Friday before 8/4, and none of them played on August 4th. They also told their parents that they would before doing so, and a few of the bandmates said they were never forced to join the youth band by their parents. They simply volunteered. But that didn't mean they weren't going to say anything about Emma's treatment. They just wanted to in a safer environment that wouldn't risk embarrassing their parents in front of the congregation, which could cost them privileges instead. They decided to share their write-up with Emma, who was planning on posting her own explanation of her ban from the church. Emma posted her explanation along with the band's write-up to her socials on August 4th regarding why the band collectively resigned, and a few bandmates decided to repost it on their socials. Emma also tagged the church's social in her post and believed that the walkout would do more harm to the band than good, so the social media route was a slightly better alternative. Not as many people will see it, but we believe potential rumors and gossip might do their thing. A few of the bandmates also told their parents that they would no longer attend that specific church. And while a few of them argued with their parents, perhaps it was less than there would have been backlash of embarrassing them with a church walkout. The 15-year-old girl ended up attending church on August 4th, but the seniors didn't, although they ended up returning the following Sunday. None of them, including myself, have attended youth group since the Friday right before 8/4, and I didn't attend on August 4th either. 2 unexpected things also happened. I received a DM from someone who said that they were from a Christian news outlet. And while I never heard of their outlet before, they asked permission to share the band's story in one of their newsletters anonymously, not including the band's names or the churches, and the band said they'll pray on it and weigh the decision. Additionally, a pastor reached out in DMs and said that he was encouraged by their story. He also said that pastors were supposed to hold each other accountable and asked for the name of the church so that he could reach out pastor to talk, but Emma and the band are undecided on this at the moment. They said they're going to pray on it along with how it's important to make sure it's a real pastor and that no harm will come to the church, and I told the pastor that I'll get back to him. Emma also told the band that her parents haven't talked to her much since her church statements, and that's because of arguments that they had. Some people thought that Emma's parents left the church in support of their daughter getting banned, but that wasn't the case. Her parents were banned too, and Emma said they didn't appreciate being blindsided by Emma's statement and received some backlash for them. Emma still stands by everything she said, but they aren't talking at the moment. The last thing I'll say is about me and how I feel about everything, and I'll leave the band's statement from Emma's post afterward. This was the last straw in a long line of stuff for me from this particular church, but it goes further than that. I struggle to understand how parents can care more about church appearances more than the needs and desires of their kids, and I'm not talking about bad things. I'm talking about normal things, and Emma's statement said it better than I could. Emma said that God gave everyone free will, but the 15-year-old girl vented about physical abuse in regards to not wanting to go to church in the past, and that is the opposite of what God taught. God didn't force people to believe in Him, but some parents take away privileges if they refuse to fall in line with God and their church. I barely even have any friends myself, and I'm not even in the band group chat. The band told me everything secondhand, and none of them are my friends. They hang out together outside of church, but I only have one other friend from church because I've been homeschooled for all of my life because my parents think public school is too secular. I can't even do official sports aside from sports played in the church field that our homeschool group uses, so I can't do leagues or be on any teams like high school. I just wish my parents would have let me go to school, but apparently they don't think their religion is strong enough for me to go to school and supposedly not lose my faith, kinda like they've been keeping me on training wheels for 17 years. Personally, I need a break from church. I know not all churches are bad because the one I happen to grow up in is questionable, but I've decided I'm not a Christian because I said the salvation prayer when I was like 7 or 8, and I don't think that counts. You don't know what you believe at that age because all you have is heavy bias from your parents, and I need a break to be unbiased in the future after my pastor has made some questionable decisions in recent years, venting politics in the church like the people who sold things that weren't of God before Jesus flipped tables. I'm going to try and learn about other religions because Christianity is all I ever knew, so I've stopped considering myself a Christie, and internally of late. Doesn't mean I'll never return, but I need a long break from Christianity because just thinking of modern Christians makes me sick, too much hate disguised as Christianity and political overlap. I know there's good ones, but I have to broaden my perspective. And without a long break, I won't be able to be non-biased in my search. I've also argued with my parents about how I'll no longer attend church, but this is getting too long. Some of the band has faced punishments for not going, and that is the epitome of what's wrong with their twisted version of Christianity, so I hope a break will help me reset in some ways. The band's statement talked about how they would no longer attend the church, but I'm not sure if their parents were the reason they returned on Sunday morning after 8/4. Regardless, here is the write-up that they shared with Emma, and it's longer than what they likely would have been allowed to say before the walkout if someone cut their microphone, which is an advantage of social media in this case. Now on to second story. Recorded a month's worth of my wife's lack of affection to show her our loveless marriage, now seriously considering divorce. I, 34 male, and my wife, 43F, have been together for 16 years and married for 7. We have a 4-year-old daughter. After the first few years where my wife was very kind, present, loving, and affectionate, things have changed a lot. I rarely receive kisses from her, let alone hugs or kind words. She doesn't ask how I am in the morning, let alone say good morning or good night. I am tired of this. I have told her in every possible way that, as a man, I need these expressions of love to feel loved. Her excuse is that she is too stressed because of the child, but these things were happening even before our daughter was born, or that everything depends on my behavior towards her. Every time, it always depends only on me. When we argue about this, she says I'm exaggerating. Tired of arguing about his for a year, I have recorded in a diary all her expressions of love over the past month. Here you see a screenshot. I know it may seem exaggerated, but believe me, I am exhausted and don't know how else to show her the lack of love I feel from her. What I don't understand is that, sexually, things are fine and we have sex 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes initiated by her. I am fed up, I don't feel loved as I would like, and I have lived like this for many years and now I can't take it anymore. Please don't get mad at me, everyone needs their own time to understand certain things, and I realized this over the past year. I am a romantic, passionate, and attentive man. Normally, I can give 5 to 6 hugs a day, kisses, compliments, surprises, and I can talk about anything and discuss things in different ways. However, being treated like this makes me shut down and withdraw because of the lack of reciprocity. I am seriously thinking of divorcing because I don't feel heard or understood. I don't see a person who understands and takes action to change the situation. Update 1. These days, after publishing the post, I've spent a lot of time reading online, watching reels, watching YouTube videos to better understand my situation, and thanks to one of these, I discovered the issue of avoidant attachment style. I was stunned by how closely my wife fit the description, and I set out to thoroughly study the case. I also identified other things I should do in my relationship: set clear boundaries, demand that my requests are understood, respected, and fulfilled, stand firm in my position, and if necessary, make it clear that I am willing to leave. I showed the Excel sheet to my wife the next day. Her first response was, "But yesterday we cuddled." I told her, "Look at the facts over the past month, there are things you never do and the few things you do are a result of my complaints or arguments. They're not debatable, I'm sorry." Then I told her what I discovered and how she fits. I untold the case, I read her the main characteristics of these people and the types of traumas they have gone through in their lives. I explained to her, knowing her personal family story, that this was mainly thanks to the abuse she received when she was a kid from her parents. My wife was stunned and listened, then asked me, "So what should I do to solve this?" My answer was I don't know because I really don't know. The thing I do know, and what I told her, is that these problems were generated in her childhood and need to be addressed now. I'm now informing myself about the options available to solve or at least alleviate these issues. Sadly, we have difficult schedules, so a therapist is now off the table. During the day I cried a lot because finally, after 16 years, I understood why we had these problems. A strong sadness came over me because I recalled all the situations where I was treated badly, with indifference, and did not receive the affection I wanted. I also remembered all the lies and manipulations used over time to cover up her shortcomings. I think the first step is to focus on myself and solve my own problems since I developed an anxious attachment style. I'll probably use an online course and books to do this since I have very little time between my daughter and work. If it works, I will propose it to my wife, who says, "I understand, don't worry, now I know what I need to give you without courses or anything. But I have serious doubts about this statement and will continue to track what happens in my diary to have objective data." I've already told her that if, unfortunately, this situation doesn't resolve, I will proceed with divorce, and when I do, if forced, I won't go back. That will be the end. I will also follow the excellent advice from, in the meantime. I will let you know what happens. Personally, I want to see how things go next week. I am sure, unless I am mistaken, that my wife will only last 3 days. In any case, I will continue on my path to heal and be ready for a new relationship when the time comes. Update 2. So, as expected, my wife lasted less than 3 days, actually just 1, in terms of giving kisses, hugs, cuddling. But it doesn't matter, I found all the things I need to fix in me, so I'm starting the journey alone in order to grow and be able, without hesitation, to proceed with a divorce and don't go back to her. I'm also seeing a lawyer to have everything checked before I proceed in the future. The interesting thing is that I listed all my insecurities and issues related to the trauma I experienced in my childhood, and I see a lot of things that I need to work about and fix in me. I asked out of curiosity to my wife what are the top 3 things she thinks should be fixed, expecting them to be at least 10 items, but she just told me that defensiveness and stonewalling are the only 2 things and that, without them, I would be a perfect husband. I was stunned and confused the whole day. I also asked her if removing these 2 things would result in her loving me more, but she told me no because she already loves me the way I am and this is just my cross. So it seems she's happy with the marriage while I'm not. I want more from a relationship, at least the basic caring of a wife.